I'm expecting that we've got just about the most ardent bunch of Florida State fans here, but be honest. Be honest. Did you expect it? Did you see this coming? Well, you got it. Early present, Christmas present. They're a dominant win against Bama. That wasn't that close when you add it all up. Florida State 31, Bama 17, and a different perspective possibly on the season. James Coleman right next to me. And of course, George Heides, the Renegade Report. So, James, we'll start with you in terms of the overall look at this football team after what they pulled off on Saturday afternoon in Tallahassee.
Yeah, well, we talked about it a little bit, Mark. I think I was on the Miami show or I was on some other different things, and I just said, man, it looks a little bit different. The energy was up, a lot better overall. Guys were, getting active, and I think sometimes, I didn't want to get too optimistic, but I definitely knew that this was not a 2-win team. I definitely felt confident in saying that this was not a 2-win team, but. Florida State, I think the confidence level that was brought by TC really took it to the next level in general. So, I think Thomas Castellanos coming out there saying things like Nick Saban ain't walking through that tunnel, and guys, matching the energy. One of the players from Alabama said, we will, what does he say? We'll see to the disrespect or something on that day. And disrespect was not seen. It was actually amplified a little bit there at Doak Campbell Stadium. But I think we caught him off guard. And one of the things that I've always seen when you have a bully, and I'm using these terms, but I actually think bullying is necessary in football. That's the sport in and of itself is imposing your will onto another man. But
when you got to make that disclaimer 20 years ago, James.
Well, yeah, you're right. It's just I live in a world where bullying is cheered. So, I don't know what people want from me. Hey, that ain't changing as long as football's around. Maybe one day, but when you meet a bully, the only thing that you could do is meet the bully where they're at. And Florida State punched and did not stop. And that was what the beautiful thing was. It's from the opening drive, I was on the field, and I got off of the field, Mark. I'm not even going to hold you. 8 minutes and 50 seconds in football is a long time. And I was like, I am not about to sit here and subject myself to Boston College all over again. But then I remembered, we had the guy that did that to us at Boston College the last time we opened up at Doak. He's on our side. But I walked up to the Champions Club and I hung out in the posh area, and I was sipping on a nice, cold, refreshing beverage after sweating my behind off in a jacket because I was representing the Gator Bowl, and we scored. And then I said, wow. And then we kept scoring, and then we did some other stuff, and I told the guy who was with me, Paul with Fanatics, I said, Paul, if we're winning in this fourth quarter, I ain't watching this fourth quarter up here. You're going to follow right behind me, and we're going to watch this entire fourth quarter on the field. And boy, did we, man. It was a great environment, great energy. Nobody deserved it more than Mike Norvell and those guys, based upon, albeit earned, the vitriol that they took coming off of a 2-10 season in this entire offseason where nobody believed in them and nobody decided to just let football be football and watch the game. So while I believe Florida State would beat Bama just outright, I didn't think it would look like that. But I promise you this, Hard Rock was good to me. This past weekend, being in Miami to watch the Notre Dame game, but also that bet that I laid on Florida State beating Miami on the money line. So it took a little bit of it was a little bit of love, but man, did they make it pay off? And I appreciate TC and those guys.
Make no mistake, George, this was no Alabama Nick Saban type team, but they're still loaded with the third best roster in the country, according to the 247 Sports Composite Team Talent Rankings. And virtually nobody gave Florida State a chance.
What a victory, man. And James ain't kidding. He's putting some miles on that green jacket. When I seen the next day he was in Miami for the game, I was like, look at this guy, man. So proud of James and great seeing him. I think he made ESPN dapping up Tommy one time coming off the sidelines after a touchdown. So beautiful stuff. Noel Nation, we talked about it on the show. We'll get into it, like, the little details and stuff, but like everything I was asking James and we got into, like, it just hit on exactly what we needed to happen across the board. It's not Nick Saban's Alabama anymore, but hey, look, he retired for a reason. That team he made the playoff in, that was a political, we ain't going to get into the snub again, but that wasn't a playoff team that he had it last year. They made it, but it's just, you can't have a dude go straight to the NFL that never started anymore in this day and age in college football. Their running back, Josh Jacobs, probably the last one of those there ever is going to be. Like, guys are going to go somewhere and play. You can't have guys 3 deep. A linebacker doesn't start till he's a senior, and he's the best linebacker in the country. He's just sitting on the bench. That kind of stuff is I don't think that's ever coming back to college football, even with $40 or $50 million NIL and plus the house of it, everything combined. But yeah, man, went out there and just dominated across the board. You couldn't draw it up any better. You're number 14 in the polls. You got the Davey O'Brien winner for the week 1, which is the national quarterback trophy for Tommy Castellanos. He's like number 1 on all these people's Heisman boards. Don't want him to drink the poison, but pretty amazing. We talked ad nauseum, me, James, Chris, you, here on the show on our channel. For 3 months, it was tough stuff talking about what we were seeing on the field, especially coming off 2023. But then the coaching changes got happened. The guys were let go. And from that point forward, I just kept saying over and over again, like, oh, you go get Tommy immediately. He's like one of the first guys you get. That's huge. I thought it was the perfect fit, yada, yada. That happened. But getting him early allowed them to get those offensive linemen, have a vision to sell, and just point by point by point, they knocked it out of the park. I think you had your best high school recruiting class put together in a matter of weeks. It's a beautiful thing to see it all come to fruition. Of course, it's not over. It's just one game. We'll see where Alabama ends up by the end of the year. I doubt they go 2-10 like we did last year, but definitely not number 8 team in the country after that, which is kind of overblown, but just excited. Wherever you guys want to take it, I'm just fired up. It's unbelievable. There's so many players I want to talk about.
Yeah, so I think the biggest stat that tells more than anything is the rushing advantage for Florida State in this game was like 250 to 80, something in that range. That tells you everything. It's not like they won a game 20-17 and there was a couple tipped passes in the fourth quarter and Bama missed 2 field goals and they fumbled in the red zone twice. No, it was a beatdown. That was a offensive line, defensive line, taking care of business kind of game that you can build on and see, where the game's played and where the game's won is at the line of scrimmage, and you can see the carryover potential for a big season.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you this, Mark. If anything, it reminded me of LSU the first go round. Everybody sees it as a 1-point win without realizing that Florida State was beating the hell out of LSU in the Superdome up until one pivotal moment when they tried to pitch the ball going in for the go-ahead score and they turned it over, and then LSU was able to come in. And this game here was about to become a 21-plus point beatdown until a muff punt by Jalen Lucas that kind of changed things a little bit. And but what was different about this team than previous teams and what normally happens with Bama normally allows you to beat yourself. And that was one of those moments where you're like, oh, wow, this really can put them away. And then they responded very well. And they came back and they never let the foot up. A lot of Florida State, a lot of Mike Norvell teams during this tenure here, especially not so much the 3 and 6 year, but the 5 and 7 year, you saw them really take what they call in football terms, taking the foot off of the neck. Now you got to, and in that 10 and 3 year, they kind of let up a little bit. And when you looked at the North Carolina State game that they lost, they did not play their best. They didn't play their trying to think of the couple other games. They didn't play their best brand of football. But 13, even then, they still kind of played with their food a little bit. This one right here, they didn't play. They took the shot from Bama early, went down, big plays, made the key point in all of this is the transfer portal players that they got and the freshmen that they got. All the newcomers made plays and gained confidence. From Squirrel White making a big grab. Jalen Luke is not in this class, transfer portal class, but the previous one making really good. I love that. I'm actually don't be surprised if you don't see Mandarin University use that motion. The guy we call it the Ram motion. Bring the back in from the wide receiver position to have him run a rail route or basically a wheel route out of the backfield coming back. Loved it. It looked great. They had to move with it, and he's unaccounted for. Linebacker bumps to him. Big mismatch right there with that little speedster. Again, Thomas Castellanos going into scoring. Sawchuk put in the final touches, doing the Florida State fans what we remember him doing to us in it was the Pop-Tarts Bowl now, but in the Cheez-Its Bowl in Orlando. Man, even though we beat Oklahoma, but it feels good to see somebody else doing it for the good teams. So there's a lot of things that we did very, very well. And on top of that, you saw Florida State be successful on the field, but you saw the risk and the gambles that Florida State has made in the last couple of years off the field. Take advantage. Go 13-1. Everybody wanted to do renovations. Oh, you guys are smelling yourself. Why are you doing this? Why do you want to leave the conference now that you're good? You couldn't play in the SEC, proving all those people wrong, and why the ACC needed to fold. We got that money. We are the big ticket. We play the big ticket teams, and it was great to see these young men go out there and play a brand of football that is more reminiscent to the winning traditions that is Florida State. Because as we all know, the standard is the standard, and when they're off, you have to talk about it. But I like Mike's energy has been consistent and been the same, and kudos to those guys for winning. You don't get to talk about firing them for a couple weeks now. Now, if he goes around and lays a duck against East Texas State A&M, Sister Mary School, the Catholic Deaf and Blind School, whatever we're playing on Saturday, then you got to talk about it again.
We'll get back to the football, but you brought up the SEC and you brought up the TV, and between Clemson, even though they lost, Florida State and Miami, they pulled in some big numbers. They were all close to 11 million viewers. So, man, the poor end of the ACC, that revenue distribution share already got a kickstart for those three against the rest of the conference, and it was a big weekend for college football viewership. That Ohio State Texas game, I just saw this, got almost 17 million. That was the biggest week one. And then those three pulled in, I don't remember a 3 in one conference pulling in close to 11 million views each. So college football had a huge weekend.
It's time, Salah. Here's a stat for you. The most watched ever 3:30 week one game in college football history. So ever since they've been keeping track of the viewerships on ESPN.
Now I'm mad. It should have been prime time. It would have been even more. My tailgate could have been more.
20
epic.
million. We had 20 million things. Jen cracks me up at the bottom of the screen because that was one of the big conversations around Tommy, and especially in the fan base and the spaces, people, reading into, oh, he got benched and he's this and he's got a bad attitude and look how he played. Bill O'Brien runs the absolute worst possible system for Tommy Castellanos versus what he's got now. But Jen says Bill O'Brien continues to screw over Alabama, which is pretty funny. But, he had to be – I wonder what he was thinking when he saw that game happen. A little bit of retribution for Tommy C., who took a lot of flack over the offseason.
Yeah, he took a lot of flack. And did that run through my mind too? Yeah, I'll be completely honest. Now, did I get on here and rant, rave, and say that he's an idiot and he shouldn't say anything? No, I didn't. I didn't say a word about it unless I was asked about it. But did it run through my mind? What is that guy talking about? They're playing Alabama the first weekend of the season. They just won 2 games. Why is he running his mouth? Yeah. Did that run through my mind? Absolutely it did. But he backed it up.
Right. The most important thing is the effect of the player it had on the players around him, and even the coaching staff and everybody. You got Mike out here talking about he's pissed we didn't blow him out by more. In which to James's point, it could have been a lot worse. You don't muff that punt. I mean, 38, 45, 17 was not out of the realm. And to go down there and the perfect 4-minute drive, you pick up a first down with 2 minutes and 20 seconds and you take 3 straight knees. I mean, it don't get much better than that. Amazing. You brought up the running backs, James, before I forget I had this point. So we talked, I asked you and I was like, What do you think about Roydell being number one? Because, from all the tape I've seen of him in his career, he just doesn't really make guys miss or break out of contact. And that held true. When you line up all the running backs that played, he had 0 missed tackles, did not break out of tackles. But what he did do was exactly what your response was. Some guys, pass protection, get the 1 yard. And to see him run through those dudes' faces on that 4th down, nothing special, didn't have to break a tackle. He just ran through an MFer's face and got that. The pitch to Keziah Holmes, which brought back flashbacks to LSU. Like, they're pitching it to the short side of the field on the goal line. What are we doing here? Touchdown, Florida State. And to Mark's point, in the first quarter, we weren't 5 minutes in the game. Alabama already had to use 2 of their timeouts. Well, actually, we were 10 minutes because we were on offense when they called them, but 2 timeouts already from the noise, and then the second one when we were on offense. It was a beautiful thing. It was Florida State making Alabama beat themselves at some points, but no, bludgeoned them with a sledgehammer and others. So, man, where you want to go next, Mark? There's so much we could talk about.
We'll get to the super chats here because, man, I got to say, Florida State, you got Miami in a few weeks, and I know we took some time off here on the Florida State channel, so we do apologize. Well, I apologize because that's my deal. That's my decision. But we had nobody to pick up the reins. But here we're back. And we're going to be dancing around every week. So we don't know when we're going to get together. So, but the good thing is all you got to do is subscribe, hit the bell for the notifications. We're going to have a live show each and every week at some point. I say all that to highlight the super chat coming in because it's from a Miami fan. We just wrapped up the Miami show with Falconer TRX chiming in over there as well and says right there, huge win, big props, and potentially sets up a huge game, obviously, between these two in several weeks. Falconer TRX coming back with this one as well. My big Miami concern was UF. Now it's FSU.
And, I mean, it still could be, you got to eat what's on your plate first. So it still should be UF. I think that's one of the big problems that our fan bases in the big three and can be fueled by the people who push the media narrative. We're so ready to do that. As I joke and call it love and hip hop reality TV type of stuff. You got a lot of teams before you even see us. Same thing with Florida. Don't worry about Florida State yet. You need to worry about what's in front of you first. Because if you don't handle business, then that game doesn't mean. I mean, still means a lot, but it doesn't have the significance in what you would have if you're undefeated. So you need to be worried about that because especially from an objective view. And Mark, I try to be as objective. There will always be a level of slant toward Florida State for me. I went there, but I like football. The game, while you should be happy to beat a Notre Dame team. Mario's still Mario, but for us, we still have to think, though we did beat an Alabama, it's easy to get up for the Alabamas of the world. What is hard to do is get up for the Virginias in damn Sleepy Hollow, Charlottesville, where it's going to be, they're going to be amped up, we'll be their Super Bowl. We'll have a target on our back. Can Florida State eat the food on their plate? So we got to I think a lot of times people want to circumvent the process, but we still got a lot of work to do here. We did very, very well, but we also, we let some things slide where we can clean up. Now, if Florida State cleans those things up, having an opponent like Alabama that you did, that you basically boat raced, you gotta that does put a little bit of fear. That should put a little bit of fear in people as well.
Game of the week is USF. Them guys have been taking people to the wire, Alabama and Florida and different guys the last couple of years. So, yeah, Florida better take care of business this week because their schedule is nuts. They were probably looking at that thing before the season started. Well, maybe USF's take a step back. Florida State was 2-10. We've already got half of the top 50. Man, they've only got 2 games left that aren't ranked, and one of them's USF, it's unreal. So we'll see if those teams earn their rankings. I don't know how good Texas A&M or Ole Miss and some of those teams are that are ranked at the bottom, but we'll see.
Jeffrey Hill, appreciate you being here. Jeffrey is gifted 5 FSU football, the Renegade Report memberships. Is that even possible?
Jeffrey, the GOAT. I mean, if I'm on a show, he's going to be gifting 5 FSU football memberships. He does it all the time. He is an absolute legend. So, Jeff, make sure you're subscribed to the FSU Voice of College Football channel. Everybody that's watching this, wherever you're watching it, Twitter, my channel here, whatever the case may be, make sure you're subbed up. And like Mark said, we're not sure what day each week, but I'm locked in. Whenever it works for James and Mark, I'm going to jump on as long as it's after a certain period of time. In the day. There probably won't be many 6 o'clock shows like we used to have. There'll probably be 7, 8 o'clock. But we'll get here one day every week for sure. So make sure you're subbed up and liked up.
Absolutely. We got Jeffrey coming back with this one. FSU is a more physical football team from start to finish on both sides of the ball.
Without a doubt.
I mean, yeah, without a doubt. They were sound in everything except for, again, I would say the kicking game, because regardless of what people want to say, if it was kicked by somebody else or something else going on, damn, I'm bad, I got a mosquito. You muffed it. You did not catch it cleanly, and you got to do that thing. But as far as the trenches where I really thought Alabama would dominate us is where we actually dominated. Kudos to Herb Hand, Terrence Knighton, and Tony Elliott. Mark, you've heard me say this again. George, you've heard me say this. Everybody's heard me say this. If Florida State if you gave me a top 15 offense and a top 15 defense, I'll show you a college football playoff team. Well, Herb Hand, what's my guy? Tim Harris Jr., Gus Bus, those guys, that was the offensive staff for the UCF, which was a top 15 offense. Tony White, not Tony Elliott. Tony Elliott was everything, but Tony White, Terrence Knighton, and I can't remember the safeties coach name.
Evan Cooper, shout out.
Yeah, those were the 3 coaches who were the primary guys for Nebraska's top 15 defense. And what you saw was, and they all said that they have better pieces here, more athletic pieces than what they had at their respective places. So what I told people, because I remember, Mark, you heard me get asked, James, how can you have faith from a 2-10 team? Better ingredients, better toppings, better pizza, Papa John's. We basically have it here. And what we saw was Mike Norvell be able to step away from the day-to-day play calling abilities and be able to become the CEO coach that is necessary in today's game to be able to do stuff. You have to be able to manage personalities. That's the only way to do it.
And I'm going to play off of that comment to a certain extent, and then we'll get to the super chat that just came in, because I picked Florida State to go 8-4 this year. My thinking was, first of all, you could have taken the same exact Florida State team as soon as the season ended last year and just said, go out. If you could have erased their memory and given them some confidence and said, just go ahead and play that schedule again, they're not going 2-10. Obviously, that was not a 2-10 roster. They were pretty bad, but they're obviously they were better than that. They just got so down on themselves, and it just was a train wreck at a certain point that they just were in their way and beating themselves. I went 8 wins based on exactly what you're talking about, because you guys know the personnel much better than I do. But I try to do a deep dive on every team at some point during the off season in like June or July. And I did my homework on Florida State for a couple hours and produced a record prediction video. And I thought the players that I knew that were coming into the program that I really liked were at wide receiver, with Deuce Robinson, Squirrel White, Thomas Castellanos. I got to say, I was kind of lukewarm on that. I thought, well, he's an upgrade over DJ because, man, the guy's elusive. He can really run it. And we know what he did at Boston College there. But I looked at his passing stats. I've seen him play probably 6 to 8 times at Boston College and thought, he's okay. He's a runner. So I looked at it more from a coaching standpoint, that I thought, okay, yeah, I trust Gus Malzahn running an offense and Tony White running a defense. So that was my thought process in going from 2-10 to 8-4, much less the personnel. So who am I missing on either side of the football other than, and they didn't even need wide receivers in this game for the most part. What they throw, they Castellanos went like 12 or 18 or something like that. They didn't even really need the passing game that much. But I think they will at some point, of course. And guys like Deuce Robinson and Squirrel Wright, I expect to have decent seasons. So who are some of those guys that have come into the transfer portal that are making a difference and did against Bama?
James already brought it up. Like the defensive line, a couple guys you named there. He didn't get into the details, but Diamante Diggs came in and he did his job. He had a sack, crazy game. Jason Jenkins didn't have a bunch of big splash plays, but he was setting the edge all day, had good plays. A guy who, Daniel Lyons, who kind of people were down on his kind of development and everything, wasn't getting mentioned by the coaching staff. Turns out he was injured. He came out and destroyed. He played great. Micah Hydanzi isn't a portal player, but a young guy who, you know, had high hopes. He was at running back. They moved him to wide receiver. Ends up being, you know, one of the most impactful guys in the entire game. I think he might have led rushing yards just from those two reverses that he had. The offensive line, the entire offensive line, we can say all the names. I know we talked about them a ton on here. I don't think it was really surprises. It's just, you can't, it's hard preseason. You know, I was right at 8 games too. It's hard to pick Florida State over, you know, these top 15 teams that you know what they have coming back. You've seen it on the field, all these things. I'm at a loss for words almost. Like, who didn't go out there and just show out? Lucas, of course, had the drop ball, the guy from the previous class, but he made up for it. Even he made another mistake, actually, Jalen Lucas, on the 4-minute drive. He runs out of bounds on, it's like 3rd and 4 or something, and he runs out a yard short when he had a 3-yard cushion. He easily could have went for it. He missed the yard marker is what happened. But the very next play, what do? They toss it to him. You know, from left to right, you want to talk about Gunnar Hansen, the kid from Vandy, killed it. You know, Adrian Medley, the guy from UCF, killed it. The center, Luke Pettibone, ACC offensive player, offensive lineman of the week. Right guard, your guy Richie Leonard, who comes back, like we talked ad nauseum, me and James, best offensive lineman you had last year and goes down. He was out there dominating. I mean, just baptizing people. But the best one, Micah Pettis, and then I'll talk about him for a second, and I'll give up the mic. Micah Pettis, man. There's like 3 clips of him out there, pancake blocking defensive linemen and linebackers, and rubbing his manhood pretty much on their face as he slid over top of them and stood up. No penalty, not doing anything out of the way. And that was one of the big things I was passionate about when we talked on here last week with, like, when's the last time we had an offensive lineman that moved people like him? Not since Cam Irving. And another thought, you know, it's hard. There's so many things racing through my head, but what James was saying about the coaching and just watching guys, you know, when have you seen guys coached up this well? Well, when is it, like, when have we ever, like, I'm literally thinking my entire FSU football life, as great as even 2013 was and things, there was things, like if you go look at the Auburn game, you know, you're running really, you know, hard schemes, either that or you're running a 4-2-5, and you just got to have the guys up front. There's always been an issue with linebackers filling gaps. There's always been things where you're like, man, we've got all this talent and it's just not quite getting squeezed out. How is a team like Auburn with this much talent, you know, taking us for a run for our money? How does FSU lose to all those teams last year that aren't even in the realm, no matter how bad you are? Like, how is it you're losing to teams who don't even have 3 stars? They're like, most of their teams 2 stars. Like, for the first time, as long as I've been watching FSU, I had the feeling that it was us. We were the ones who were, you know, I don't want to say the guys were playing over their head, but it was just outside of the Lucas thing, and a couple times that, you know, zone concepts got a little confused and people got wide open. It was like people were playing at or above their level all day with their hair on fire. Earl Little Jr., holy shit, excuse my language, another second-year guy from Bama. But people are talking, and this is like total hyperbole. It's just 1 week, but there's like people talking about he's the best safety in college football, coming off of, you know, the whole peanut gallery saying he needed to hit the road after the season last year. So, yeah, those are some names that just pop right off the top of my head.
Well, before we get to
I
this,
say anything,
go ahead, James.
Emptiest Pisces, out in the comments. Ooh, I like that you're a Florida State fan, but he talked about that. That's my damn alma mater who got drugged by Thomas County Central. Like, like they got beat 70. I thought it was 77-14, but like we'll talk about my high school like that, man. That wasn't right. They beat the baby Knowles, like they were Bama. That's what they beat them like. But yeah, I'm sorry about that, Mark. I just saw that. I'm a little sensitive about that butt whooping they gave us.
Chris Frazier, Spear Addicts, joining us. Before we get Chris's take, two things we need to clean up here would be a super chat. And also, I'm going to let everyone know that's watching on X/Twitter. We love it that you found us, but we got like 200 people watching us total, and we got like 25 people watching us on YouTube. So please join us on YouTube so you can jump on the chat and you can mix it up with other Florida State fans, other college football fans, Miami fans, whoever's here. So again, if you're on X or Twitter, please join us on YouTube. We're going to cut the feed on Twitter in just a second. Super chat here. Knowles Age. Appreciate the contribution, sir. In all reality, we need all of the big three to do well this year, but especially us in Miami for conference purposes. We need the money. P.S. Great pod this morning. Big Game James Alford interview. Very insightful.
Yeah, my AD came on the show this morning, gave me 45 minutes, which is crazy. Made my show go a little bit longer. Just a lot of breakdowns. I love the business of sports, so a lot of people wanted to know, oh, you're losing money by doing that upgrade and taking away seats. Actually, we were dead last in the ACC when it came to what we put into it. It's about $9 million was the deficit, and we made that up. We more than made that up by selling those seats. We obviously the negotiated deal that we have with the ACC will put us in par with that. Now he dropped a real big hint that a lot of people didn't catch. He said the amount of money that we made would have made from on a stadium weekend per how things were going, even when we sell out, would have put us dead last in a specific conference. He didn't say dead last in the ACC. He did not say dead last in the SEC. He said it would have put us dead last in the Big Ten, and it was just some things that he said were just a little interesting to hear an athletic director say those things while we're still members of the ACC. Mark, for the last couple of years, everybody's been, should we stay, should we go, and what would happen, and a lot of these different things. But we call him Money Mike Alford on the show. Money Mike Alford is about one thing about the bread and making Florida State University more like a pro, running it like a pro franchise, which I think is when you take your mind out of the college and you look at it like a pro franchise, every decision makes sense.
Mike Holly says the Knowles paid my car note this month. Thanks, boys. Go Knowles. You know who else would pay your car note? Would be this kid right here at 15-7 against the spread. So that's a nice little segue right there. We'll be back in like 1 minute. College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now. So again, that's on Patreon, Mark Rogers TV, or you go to the main channel and sign up for the top tier there, and you get all of that. All right. We appreciate Chris Frazier being here from Spear Addicts. Chris, thanks for stopping by. I'm sure you were elated on Saturday night.
Yeah, unfortunately, Saturday night was a bad night for me outside of us winning. I tore my meniscus and my ACL at the same time, so I just had surgery earlier. And I'm kind of feeling what the doctors give you, if y'all know what I mean. So if I start talking too much, just mute me. It's all good.
I don't know if
But
we want to hear this story, but
no,
you can
probably
get into
not.
the football.
Yeah, no, I'm not telling that story. No, but I watched the episode James with Alfred this morning, and I caught all of it. Like I captured everything that he said. I don't know. It's been 2 or 3 years since we've been saying we're going to the Big Ten, but for whatever reason, people don't want to believe it. But it's all good. I'm trolling everybody this year. If you watch Spirit Addicts, you'll see that my background is Florida State's all their logos with the Big Ten in the middle of it. So I'm trolling everybody with it. But anyway, I picked our score. I said Florida State was going to win 31-27. I did not pick their score correctly. I gave them 10 points credit. I thought it'd be a closer game than it was. But congratulations to the entire Knoll family and everybody that won money and all that good stuff. I only bet on my team when it's with other people. I don't do it online or at casinos, I guess. But um, I did listen to everything that y'all were talking about previous. I think that it's important to talk about the newcomers. I do. I think, when people say newcomers, I know what y'all mean because I use the terminology as well. But everybody thinks that just means the portal, and that's not what it means. Danzy, who had a couple of really nice rushes, but Danzy going in for the very nice touchdown. That is a high school kid. We had a multitude of high school kids playing this game. Lyons played in this game. That's a high school guy. We had a multitude of gentlemen that stepped up. Boggs, high school kid, actually a true freshman. So was Danzy. But we kept hearing from all of the mainstream media is this is what the transfer portal can do. This is what the transfer portal can do. Now, I give 50% of the credit to the transfer portal, but we actually have guys that we recruited out of high school that put up a lot of good stats and they did a lot of really good things. And I think they're being overlooked. But if y'all want to cover more of that, come watch Spirit Addicts tomorrow night.
Absolutely. So why don't we stay on the recruiting trail in terms of not necessarily specific targets, but what a win like this does, and what kind of contingent did we have on hand of 4 and 5 kind of star players showing up at Doak Campbell?
It was tons. It was over 100 some top recruits and a lot of guys that were watching it from afar. One kid I know in particular that if you go that I coach in B5, this game right here definitely helped. Definitely helped in the B5 sweepstakes, even though that's a few years away. But it really turned a lot of heads for the 2027 class. So a lot of guys that are looking to leave the state, see what you were able to do to Alabama, a team that's been able to come to the state, pull one or two of the top guys, and now they're looking forward to this. What's really going to be interesting is over the next couple of weeks, if Florida State can maintain this momentum, beat Miami, who's got all the generated hype, all of the different things, the pageantry, pomp and circumstance, the U, and all of those different things. But you're able to put a true college game day atmosphere. And now, if you listen to Mike Alford's interview, we're willing to put the money up. We're not going to get outspent. We're going to compete on and off the field. I think you're going to start seeing, maybe even in this class, some flips. And people say Mike Norvell does a bad job of recruiting, right? Mike Norvell had a top 5 class at one point last year, if I remember correctly. What ended up happening is that you can't go 2-10. You lost the momentum from going 13-0, and you went 2-10. So right now, you do what you need to do this season. Continue to push that. You've got guys that can come into flips. There are a couple kids that I know personally that have ties to Florida State, that have connections. to Florida State that they know, man, if I can come in and play in this system, I'm going to be good. And the best thing they did, and Chris did bring up a very good point, they didn't just play young guys. They played young guys that you can clearly see that have developed just like that. Somebody put in the chat the Desir twins. I think that's how you said their name. But they were flips that came on board. I actually broke down every recruit that they brought in for Florida State in last class, the ones I liked and the ones I didn't like. And I want to come out here. I believe the apology has to be as loud as the broadcast was. And I didn't disrespect the kid. I just said I think he needed more time. I called it good twin versus the bad twin. The good twin was more of the smaller one. The defensive end still has that burst. But, man, the one that I said was like the twin that wasn't as ready, boy, was I wrong. He done hit that weight room. He looks like a grown-ass man. That boy was sitting there pushing a guy who was considered one of the best tackles in the nation, making him look bad at 18 years old. That's sexy. That's how you get recruits. Hey, we don't care what your ranking is. We care about how you come in here, get after it, and get active. And that was what they showed. And again, I love him. I don't know I'm not going to learn how to pronounce his name this year. It's going to take me a little bit of time. But I call him Osama bin Running. Whatever the kid from Georgia name is, bow-legged. Usam, I know he's something like that. That boy came in, he did his thing, he's fine. But I've been telling you guys from Chocolate City, it's certain places that when you recruit a guy that you just know that they're going to be okay. Cocoa, Florida is in Brevard County. And I want y'all to know, why does James Coleman speak so passionately about Brevard County? Well, I used to go to Cocoa every year for Thanksgiving. And I would drive to my Auntie Gaynell's house. And when I was driving by my Auntie Gaynell's house, to the left, there was a stadium. And to the right, there's this little school called Cocoa High School. From as young as I can remember, from about the time when I was my baby boy's age, all the way up through high school. My high school wasn't practicing because we didn't make the playoffs or go deep. I'm coming down to Cocoa for Thanksgiving, and I'm seeing those guys over there at Cocoa High School practicing and getting better. It is a powerhouse in the state of Florida. They play a brand of football that they are just used to winning. That's where Richie Lucas came from. That's where Boggs comes from. We had a center that's there that I see just mean and nasty and dirty. I love it. Like, if Boggs is a ball player, and I think those are the things that we got to remember. And then again, I'm going to go back to our transfer portal guys. It was a great mix. The touchdown run, but again, last time, 20 years ago, Labor Day weekend, there was a Florida high grad that scored a touchdown against a school that wears orange and green. And Doak was very, very loud. And that young man has been making money off of that touchdown ever since 2005. Mekhi Danzy, number 19, Florida State, from a school called Florida High. 20 years ago, Labor Day, he comes in there, scores a big touchdown. Florida High players make big touchdowns in big-time games. But if you go back and you watch that, there was a young man whose daddy I played with by the name of Deuce Robinson. I played with his brother it was daddy Dominic Robinson. That block that Deuce Robinson had as a wide receiver, that is unselfish football, and that is championship caliber. He wasn't getting them catches. They didn't throw for a ton of yards, but what he did was he put paws on that Alabama DB, and he escorted him out of the club. And then another play that was so great, he actually has 2 hymns, but I had to make it. I got this thing called hit him with the hymns, when a player just decapitates him, because the kingdom of God will be advanced by violence. That's biblical. That's scripture. That's not me just making up stuff. That's in that book. Randy Pittman, who was an original commit to Florida State, decommitted from Florida State, went to UCF. This man took the young man from Alabama, and he allowed him to learn what it feels like to use your butt pad. He knocked him square up under the chin, and that young man fell tailbone first. And luckily, his butt pad was in, because he would have fractured his pelvic bone if he did not have that. If they did not have that in. The one thing I will say Bama does is they practice proper equipment safety habits, because they were getting knocked around, and we know that their equipment works. And shout out to Dober for showing us that the SEC does not have the game day environments that Florida State has, because I have never heard a coach come in and cry about how our fans were treating them unfairly, booing them at every given moment. That's just how we are. We're going to welcome you with some good old real Southern hospitality in Florida. So I'm just saying, man, it was good stuff all around, man. Things that don't show. Oh, and Earl, and thank y'all for Earl Little, for the Bama fans. Earl Little is what the young kids call a crash out. That young man, I got a chance to witness him on the goal line. He made two players reconsider life. He came down and he knocked the running backs parallel, knocked him sideways. Love it. That was dope. Now, he also did the little finger paint boy, with the little the emotional support doll that everybody was talking about was so great. That was on par with Jeremiah Smith. If I ever see Jeremiah Smith with an emotional support doll, hey, there are those of us who do deal with anxiety. This ain't the sport for that. This is not the sport to be over here and be overly eccentric. You gotta be a man at some point. But I seen Earl Little come and crash and hit Ryan Williams going out of bounds. And next thing you know, he just said, you know what? I don't want no parts. But I will say, whoever number 5 is for Alabama, hey, I love seeing a competitor. That young man is a ball player. I hope he was a junior or something. I hope he enters the draft next year, because I don't want no parts of him anymore. Like he's the only reason they're in the damn game. Get him out of here. But 5 was good for Alabama.
I'm gonna have to look that up. I should have my roster here, but
Jeremy Bernard, I believe is his name.
Oh, Jeremy, you're talking about the wide receiver.
Yeah,
Jeremy Bernard from Washington. Yeah.
Yeah, like 160 yards. That makes sense.
He came from Washington. Now it makes
right
Michael
spot.
Penix. Yep.
Yeah, he knows the offense. I mean, he understands what was being at. Okay, now I'm like, okay, now I wonder, like, man, who is this guy? But now it makes the most sense.
All right, folks, appreciate you being here. And big game, what's going on at Den Media this week?
Well, we're going to be uploading a lot of cool content this week, man. Check out Den Media Group. Last week we streamed our first ever high school football game. Mandarin University, that we call as we jokingly call ourselves, played a rivalry game against Atlantic Coast High School. Tons of highlights that are up there. We actually have a video with just the highlights of the game, but you can also go and watch the full game, 3 hours of it on Den Media Group. We also had a great interview with Florida State's Michael Alford, just discussing about what Florida State is going through and a lot of different things. We also have Florida State's not going to do cinematic recaps anymore, but we have our cinematic recap of the day, including the tailgate, big games tailgate, with the Dope Boys, along with Florida State, and a lot of different stuff. We have some clips, just a lot of stuff that we're going to be doing here, coming into an all-inclusive sports channel between Den Media Group and Big Games Gridiron. So those are the things that we have going on right there. I'm probably going to start getting back into writing a little bit more about sports and the different things that are going on with that. But other than that, man, we gave a giveaway for the East Texas A&M game for Florida State. So shout out to my guy, Grant Gray, member of the band of the Marching Chiefs, greatest band in the land. He's going to give it to his parents. We gave tickets to the Miami game as well, but we'll have a lot of stuff for that, as well as my weekend with at the University of Miami watching the Notre Dame game. So unique aspects of sports, a unique experience is given. Make sure you go to Den Media Group and like the channel. Once we get to 7,000 subs, we will give away $500 to a lucky listener of Big Games BS and $200 to any of our members of the channel. So be tuned in for that. We can't wait till we get to the 7,000 member. We get to 10,000, we're gonna do something really stupid, like give $1,000 away or something. But we're looking forward to those things and continue growing the channel.
I have to learn just to hand it off to James, because it seems like every time I do, he's got another brand under the empire. He's added another division or something. We try to do the same here. Before I give it to George, we've got some VOCFB merch, got some Florida State merch. So Shout out to Josh Mailer from the Oklahoma channel, because I had given up on having merch this year, but he'd done a remarkable job putting together a merch store for us, which includes Florida State. So go to vocfb.com. That's pretty much the run of the items you will see for FSU: tumblers, mugs, and polos, t-shirts, some nice hats there. It's all quality. I've looked at it, and if you don't like what you got, come see me and let me know, because we want you to be satisfied. And everyone who has purchased something, which is about 25 to 30 people at this point, have said quality stuff, because we tried to balance out the price point with quality merch. So vocfb.com, and you'll see the various teams that you can go to, including FSU. George, what you got?
Man, if you haven't seen it, we just had the roast. Jen and Tiny Hat did their thing last night. So go check that out. It's not like this, okay? It's not a safe for work, analytical, trading, church stories and stuff in between talking football. No, this is for adults, comedy. It's what it is. If you've ever seen a roast, that's what it is. They get on there and they have fun. They roast other college football teams, FSU if need be. We had a lot of that went on last year. The show kind of took a turn. It's like we were the butt of the roast every week. But back in the sunshine and kind of what the show was meant to be from the beginning. They get on there and roast Bama and Texas. They do all kind of fun stuff. It's if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out if you're into that kind of thing, because Jen and Tiny Hat are on fire. Jen, she had a one-liner that put me on my butt. I couldn't believe it. She had like 2 pages of notes. She killed it. I think it was something about the offensive tackle, Caden Proctor, supposed to be the best offensive lineman, best prospect for the draft. But she heard he was number 1 on the roller derby draft because he looked excellent on skates out there all day. Yeah, so that's probably the only safe for work joke that was on. But yeah, check that out. And then we're going to do a show 7 Eastern or 8 Eastern on Friday like we normally do, and get back into the thing. So roast every Monday and a show on Friday at 7 or 8 Eastern. See you there.
I didn't know I was on here telling church stories between football. I could do that. I could do that, by the way. All right. We appreciate James. We appreciate George. And once again, you don't know when you're going to get us each week, but you will get us. So you subscribe, hit the bell for the notifications to know when we go live, and we will send that out to you. Florida State's 1-0, everyone, and it was a huge one. We'll see you back next week.